You know what I found is funny with the YouTube live streams is if there's any problem one time, everything just falls apart. Basically, now I feel like I'm sweating a little bit while I am. The audio, the little battery powered input here died, and as soon as it died, even though I turned it back on and I was able to turn power back onto this device, it once YouTube lost the audio signal, that's it. They were done. They're like, nope, we don't care that you're switching audio source to the internal mic, which right now it's on the internal mic. Oh, look, did this go public live? Oh, no. It's supposed to be a private live here. Oh, what's up, everybody? Well, hey, whatever. I guess I'm doing a public live. Come on in. That's funny. Welcome, everybody. I'm going to unlist this, but if you're already in here, that's totally fine. Come on in. I'm pretty sure this was supposed to be unlisted, but hey, whatever. Come on in. We're talking about real estate investments. How y'all doing? We're analyzing some deals, so we're doing a private live. Had a little bit of an audio problem to start, so I lost my my live stream and had to repost. Good old audio died there, so we will. I'm going to unlist this right now. So if you're in here, good for you guys. But we're going to be talking about this deal. I don't even know how to unlist this while I'm in here. So whatever, I guess I'm just going to talk to you guys and I'll unlist it afterwards. For all you folks watching publicly, I got some awesome video content coming out. YouTube's a little funny with their live stream software, so is what it is. But in the meantime, what I was just doing is we were analyzing a deal in our private real estate investing group. And so what we have is every Tuesday and Thursday at 9:30 in the morning Pacific time, I do a live stream for the investing group. And then Wednesdays and Fridays, I do a live stream for the real estate agent sales group. So this just happened to accidentally go public. I'm still new at doing these little live streams here, but whatever. Okay, there we go. Figured out how to unlist it. So in the meantime, what's up? Thank you, JK. All right, I'll take it. So I finally figured out how to unlist it. There you go. I got 89 of you in here now. That's fine, no problem. So here's what we were doing. I had this question come up that Storm Shadow here brought this deal. Said we've got this 30. How many units was this deal we were looking at? I think it was 35 unit deal. So Storm Shadow's looking at a 35 unit deal. And what I was talking about, or was it 34 units? It was either 34 or 35. Storm Shadow, could you reiterate how many units your deal was? And so what we had basically was we had a 35 unit deal. I believe there were 25 one bedrooms, that's 34 units, 8 2 bedrooms, and then you had 34 units. Okay, perfect. And then you had 1 3 bedroom. And so we're analyzing, and what was the price on that deal, Storm Shadow? I don't know if you had mentioned that. So what I always do when I analyze a deal like this, and I'm trying to figure out, does it make sense to invest in this? Then I make a new spreadsheet every single time, because anytime I use sort of a reuse spreadsheet, something goes wrong. It's not good. Like I end up missing something. So it's a $2.2 million deal approximately. Now I'm going to take my spreadsheet, and all I'm going to do is multiply the rents for each unit. And so we're going to get, let's see what we've got. We've got 25 doors at $895. Then we've got 8 doors at $1,070, and these are the current rents, right, Storm Shadow? Because you said these were fully occupied units; they were not pro forma rents, which is good because oftentimes when you're buying a larger deal like 34 units, remember you're going to have an on-site property manager, which is nice because you can sort of deal with turnover faster, but it's also a downside because you have to pay for an on-site property manager. So it's a little bit frustrating in that sense because it's like, oh my gosh, like it's another expense. That's one reason buying units that are under, say, 15 doors, you don't need an on-site property manager. So that can be nice, but that's okay. That's all built into this. So we have total rents here of 25 doors at $895, 8 doors at $1,070, and 1 door at $1,595. That's going to give us a total monthly income of $32,530. And then Storm Shadow, I think you were also asking, exactly, pro forma is all speculation. I was also asking, where is it located? Is this in an earthquake zone? Is it in a hurricane zone? Is it in a cold weather zone? Give me a little bit of insight as to where it is. And let's hit up our total income here. So for the year, yeah, I could totally post these numbers on the Discord, our private Discord channel, for the little spreadsheet I'm doing, just so you can see. So all I'm going to do now is I'm going to annualize these figures, and I'm just going to take the total rent, multiply it by 12. And so now all of a sudden we have this total income for the year of about $390,000. Now, before I look at any possible hurricanes, okay, that's all right. 1970s building. You down in Florida? I used to live in Florida. But anyway, so you have a total rent of $390,000 coming in per year. Before I look at any expenses that a property manager is going to give me, or worse, a seller is going to give me, because sellers like to fluff the numbers a little bit. I mean, you can't blame them. They're trying to sell the place for as much as possible. I'm just going to take an expense ratio. And so I'm going to take off 35%. And so I'll multiply $390,000 as the annual rent. And I'll multiply that by 1 minus 35. That way I'm removing 35% for expenses. That's going to include taxes, our acronym that we talk about or we'll be going into detail a lot more. To reiterate, our acronym TIMR: taxes, insurance, maintenance, management, utilities, reserves. Those are our expenses. So we've got management in there. That's a big one. Shared utilities. You might have common water meters. One thing I like to know as well, Storm Shadow, is this what's it called? Sorry, I get distracted by the super chat comment. I'm not making it public again. That was a mistake. Are the utilities all shared, or are they all separate? So I want to know, for example, I like it when you have shared electrical meters, shared gas. Ideally, you might not have gas if you're in a hurricane area. But I also, usually you have common water meters. That's pretty typical. So there's not much you can do about that. So that's usually an expense that you're incurring, and you're just charging a little bit more rent for that. So that's fine. So now all of a sudden, when I have my annualized figure here, I look at my net operating income, doing my numbers. I always, every time I compare a deal, I want to use my numbers, because when I apply my numbers, the same expense ratio to every deal I look at, I can then determine, oh, okay, well, when I did the numbers on this deal, this was the result I got. When I did the numbers on this deal, these were the results I got. If I just look at the net operating income that an agent gives me or seller gives me, I have no consistent basis to compare these things. So the more simple you keep deal analysis, the better. People try to get really fancy with their calculators and their, I'm stuttering, I hope not. People get really fancy with their calculators, like their spreadsheets, and they'll try to build in appreciation and project future value and future renovations. It gets so complicated. Basically, the inputs are so reliant on assumptions that ultimately you come out with a bunch of garbage. So keep it simple. What do we got here? To me, we've got, after our expense ratio, we have a net operating income of $253,000. Now I'm going to divide this by his purchase price so we can get our NOI. Looks like some of you have already been playing with dividing that. So let's take our net operating income divided by $2,240,600. Is that what you are in escrow for, or is that the listed price? Because so to me, the numbers, I have no idea where this is, but if I'm getting a net operating income of hold on here, let's see here, net operating income divided by our annual, come on, Mr. Spreadsheet. Let me know though, are you in escrow at this price? Let me know about shared utilities and some other information. So let's take, that's the listed price. Okay, perfect. Do I have it set to slow motion? Is anybody else getting any lag on this? It's on the DSLR. I'm trying to be a little fancy having the DSLR here. It had the separate mic, but that thing, the battery died on that. So anyway, when I get, after my expenses, a net operating income of $253,000 on a $2 million building, all of a sudden, not an escrow. Okay, perfect. No, perfect. Thank you. Now, all of a sudden, I'm a little curious, because why is this telling me my net operating income is 11.3%? So to me, I'm a little skeptical about this. Let me know this. These are the questions I have for you. What area is this in? Is the population increasing or decreasing? Because out of the gate with a net like this, it almost seems too good to be true. We've got, if I figure out the sort of a cap rate here, let's see, or not a cap rate, let's do a gross rent. We've got this thing selling for, I mean, this thing's selling for less than 10 times gross, because this is selling for close to 9 times gross. If I do 253 times 9, there's 2.2. This is selling for 9 times gross. It's selling as if it's in a really bad area. I mean, when I see properties here in California that have a gross rent multiplier of under 10%, there's either something extremely wrong with the building or there's something extremely wrong with the area. In today's day and age, for that to be the listed price and for that not to have multiple offers, I'm very, very skeptical. If this net operating income was closer to 6%, like a 6 cap, that might make more sense to me. I might be more comfortable with that. But give me a little bit more detail. The vacancy consideration is built into the 35% factor. So sorry, the super chat is off because it's a private, it's supposed to be private, but I was accidentally public for a few minutes. So so Chris, California is its own world. And you're absolutely right. You can buy 10 caps all day long in various different areas. But the most important thing to me about real estate, and everybody's different, but what I like to know when it comes to real estate, because I've looked at deals in Texas, I've looked at the deals Grant Cardone buys, I've looked at the deals in Florida, I've considered investing in other areas as well, and consistently, the quality buildings, the newer construction, those in areas that are appreciating in value, which your big money is from appreciation, generally don't sell for less than 10 times gross rent, which, remember, gross rent is you take the purchase price, divide it by your rents, and then you get this gross rent multiplier. So let's look a little bit more here. What else do we got? So yeah, well, hey, I'll open it up to some other questions here. We've got some other questions. According to, okay, here, we got some more insight from you. So according to census population, slowly growing, coastal area near multiple hospitals, yes, older area. Okay. So coastal area, let's say it's going to be somewhere on the coast of, I'm just going to guess because it's in a potential hurricane area. So maybe somewhere between North Carolina and South Florida. Now we think to ourselves, okay, if the population is growing and it's a 1970s building and there's nothing, I would start researching, is there anything wrong with the foundation? What kind of hurricane shutter system do we have? Are we going to plywood or are there already bolts in place for these? And if it's a 1970 building, we probably already have copper wiring. We probably already have copper plumbing. So these are great. With 34 units, overall, I like the numbers. The numbers make sense. I would just now want to reiterate that, am I missing something? Why is this selling so well? But now here's the best way to figure out if you're missing something. Ask yourself, or do the research, what are other things selling for in the area? So let's say this is on the coast of South Carolina. This is on the coast of South Carolina, and you're running these numbers where the net is pulling 11% and the gross rent multiplier was, sorry, I think I did my gross rent multiplier wrong. Getting a little flustered with the live stream today. You divide that by gross, not net rents. So let's do that. But in the meantime, look at what the comps are doing in the area. So if the comps are selling, and still, even more so. If the comps in the neighborhood, if all of these buildings in the area are selling for less than 10 times gross rent, in this case, closer to 6 times gross rent, if the net operating income for the comps is almost always above 9%, great, then that's the area that you're in. Now, all of a sudden, this kind of deal becomes very easy to finance. The reason the deal becomes very easy to finance for you is because a bank's debt service coverage ratio will look beautiful. It will be very, very easy for a bank to say, oh yeah, we'll finance this. The minimum you would probably have to put down would be about 35%. So now let's do a little bit of a return calculation. If we did my favorite way, again, always raw. Just do quick math, raw, keep it very simple. Let's do 35%. So let's say you paid listing price for it, 2.24 million, we'll say. And now we're going to say you're going to put down 35%, so you'll get a loan of 65%. You're getting a loan for 1.456 million, and your interest rate will probably be fixed for about a 5-year term, maybe a 7-year term if you're lucky, and then it's going to switch over to a variable. I would amortize it over 30 years if I could, if that was an option. I'd want to amortize it for as long as possible. So ideally, if I could get a 5-1 arm or a 7-1 arm, that would be great. I'm going to assume if you go to a local credit union, you could probably get a rate of about 4.75%. So if you could come up with the approximately $1 million down, whether you had to create an LLC or a partnership to fund this deal, that's one thing. You would have a mortgage expense of principal and interest of about $7,595, which let's pull that off of what you've got coming in. So after the rough expenses that we did, you've got a monthly leftover income of about $21,000. So $21,000 after expenses, and I would compare the actual expenses to that 35% expense ratio that I used, because keep this in mind. If I use 35% as my expense ratio, and then I look at the seller's profit and loss statement, and all of a sudden I look at the numbers and I go, you're telling me you're operating this building at a 20% expense ratio? Yeah, I don't buy it. So then I'd stick with my 35%. Or you look at the profit and loss and they're being legit with you, and you see that, oh, they're operating it at a 40% expense. Why? Oh, wow. The pool needs a costly repair every single year or whatever. Do your due diligence in that sense. But I mean, even after your expense ratio and paying off your loan, you're cash flowing $13,500 at least from this deal with this super quick math that we did right here. I like that. I mean, I think that's an incredible opportunity for you. I would jump into a multi-deal like that. Other multis similar to this one are selling at the same price. One just sold, very similar to this one. Storm Shadow, if you could get into that deal, I would jump on that deal. And so, folks, if you just now joined, you're joining because this is supposed to be the private live stream, but when I submitted it as live, it went in public. So it is listed as unlisted now. But if you're not already a member of the real estate investing course or the real estate agent sales course, I do 4 private live streams per week. This will just be a free sample for y'all then. And my goal is to analyze your deals. So you get the lectures of the content that I do, plus me analyzing your deals and sort of looking at things like this. So yeah, find the gap. Dashway Aspen here says, it seems too good to be true. Just be cautious. You know, at this point, we've done the numbers. We've looked at the area. You're telling me that the population is going up according to the 2010 census. You just, you know, do the gut check as well. Are there bars on the windows? Do you got to go there with a gun to collect the rent? You know, if this is in a hurricane area, know that pretty much everybody has a gun in hurricane areas. At least that's what I found living in a hurricane area. So, all right, we got another question here. So RE's got a question. Let's see. What are better options fitting my financial situation? I have $70,000 for up to 20% down. I have a monthly income of $5K. Is that monthly income gross or net? Let me know. I'm going to assume that you have a gross income of $5K, which means you have an annual income of $60,000 and you've saved up $70,000. First of all, good job. Saving up $70,000 and you've got an income of $60K. That's great. Good for you. This will be my first purchase ever. No, the properties have no rental restrictions. Good. Are move-in ready, but need a facelift for bathrooms and kitchens. That's good. You're looking at a condo. It's a 3-bedroom, 2-bath for $245,000. The HOA is $350 per month. Okay, perfect. And townhouse, fees, blah, 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 blah. Okay, so, these are your 3 options here. Okay, all right, let's play with the numbers here. $5K net, even better. Okay, so you're probably making closer to $75,000 to $80,000. So let's just do, well, to analyze the difference here, this will be your first purchase ever, and I'm assuming you're going to buy this as a rental property right out of the gate. That is, you're not looking to move into this, right? Give me some clarity on that, and then let me know as well, what would these rent for? So right out of the gate, let's see if I can rule any of these options out. You've got a 3-bedroom, 2-bath condo. You've got a 3-bedroom, 2.5-bath. Then you've got a house for $360,000. That's also in an association. And and the association dues that you have vary greatly. So let me break it down like this. Let me first say your first example where the HOA dues are $350. You probably in that HOA have an association that, and you said it's a condo, that's going to cover things like exterior maintenance. If you haven't already seen the preview video, it's actually a free preview lecture of the real estate investing course. It shows you how to qualify an HOA to make sure that you're getting into a good HOA. Ari, you're going to want to do that for each of these associations. Let's also see what you've got in terms of rental. You're looking to move in, move out of the nest. Okay, perfect. So here's what I would consider. First of all, you have the funds for 20% down. First consideration I would ask yourself is, how aggressive do you want to be? Because you have this unique option in that you could do something called an 80-10-10 loan, where you put down 10% and you get a credit line for the other 10%. That way you don't have mortgage insurance. I'm assuming your goal would be not to have mortgage insurance. Now all of a sudden you have only used about 300, say 250, you've only used about half of your down payment budget. Now you can use the other half of your down payment budget and spend it on things like the cosmetics, the facelift on the kitchen and the bathrooms. Very important, you're going to be living in the property. So very, very important that you don't overspend on the renovations that you do for the kitchen and bathrooms. Of course, Junior here says avoid HOA. It's very understandable for a lot of people to not like associations because you have rules and regulations you have to follow. Some of them have rental restrictions, and sometimes you have poorly managed associations. But it's also important to know that there are good associations as well. So Ari, the most important thing I would do for you is I would qualify these associations separately. Then I would see what are the projected rents of these. Out of the gate, I personally like the idea, looking at all of these here, because you have the funds available, and this is going to be a little bit of a personal question in terms of how much you want to move, and this relates to another question somebody asked here is, I like the idea of starting with something like the 2-bedroom, 2-bath for $145,000. I would not pay it off quickly. Instead, I would purposefully try to put down like 5 or 10%. I would get into the 2-bedroom, 2-bath. And then a year later, get into that with 5% down on FHA. Because, and you have to ask yourself, are you single? Do you have family and all that? A year later, I'd pack up and move into a 3-bedroom, 3-bath or 3-bedroom, 2-bath. Now, all of a sudden, you control 2 properties within 12 months. That's an aggressive play for you. You have $70,000 to play with. You could put less down on the first, spend a little bit money on fix-up, make sure not to overspend on the fix-up, and now all of a sudden use the rest of the money and save a little bit more over the year to buy another property a year later. Most important thing, though, is making sure that the rent covers a lot of your payment for that first place you're buying. So you'll want to put down enough money to cover that rent. So we've got somebody here. I just started your course. Is there a section where you're talking about appreciating markets like Breckenridge? So I do talk about, or we will be talking about buying in locations. Ideally, we'll give you a quick summary here. Ideally, we want to look at areas where populations are growing and you believe that there is a future benefit to growth in that area. Now, we'll go into extreme detail in the actual lectures as far as how to explore and evaluate different areas. But yeah, Breckenridge is extremely expensive. I get a lot of people that ask me about San Francisco and, hey, should I invest in San Francisco because it's so expensive here? And ultimately, my rule of thumb always remains, where do you live? Invest within 30 minutes of where you live. And if you live in an area like Detroit, like I mentioned in my other video, where over the last 60 years, their population has declined 60%. The first thing I would ask myself is, do I still want to live here? Because things are declining and I might pick up and move. Now, sorry if anybody lives in Detroit, but it's something to consider. So we got another question here. Is it worth taking a student loan, using it for investment if the rate is a 0.3%? That's like free money. Under 1%, that's incredible. I mean, I would love to know the terms of your student loans. Are they interest only? Are they do they have a balloon payment after 7 years? I'd love to know some more insight for that. But I mean, that sounds incredible. And that's one big benefit you folks have in Europe right now are the interest rates are absolutely so darn low. It's incredible. How could you not want to buy with interest rates that low? It's unbelievable. What is my opinion of buying homes that we put up for auction? How does that work? Are auction homes and foreclosure homes considered the same thing? Yeah, essentially. And so there's a long explanation in terms of the difference. I mean, essentially, there are certain types of foreclosures called REOs, which are bank owned. They usually get listed on the MLS. And then there are auctions that you usually have to buy with cash. Now, not going into too much detail because it would take too long. Basically, if you want to buy foreclosures, that's fine. I bought my very first house that was a foreclosure with 3.5% down, and it was a foreclosure. But I was able to buy it through the normal means. I was able to get a loan on it. You have to put cash down on property. It's not as desirable unless you're looking to flip it or you're able to refinance. See, like in the numbers we ran on the spreadsheet at the beginning of the live stream, we talked about analyzing this 34-unit apartment deal Storm Shadow brought to us. We thought that the net operating income is incredibly high. The gross rent multiplier is incredibly low. It's screaming that it's a good deal. Storm Shadow says that this is a very common for this area, which great. We sort of left it off by evaluating, do sort of the gut check. Do you have to carry a gun to collect the rent? But other than that, the numbers on Storm Shadow's deal were absolutely phenomenal. People would kill to have deals like that here in California. But it becomes less desirable if you just straight up pay cash for it. Because if now you could get a loan on it and you can take advantage, and this is why I always ask about the population and appreciation, if you can now get a loan on it, now you're looking even better because if you're in an appreciating area, the money that you put in multiplies much more rapidly when you have financing in place. This is why you get funds like Grant Cardone's Cardone Capital that say, oh yeah, we can get an internal rate of return of 15%. Well, so can you. So you might even be able to do better. So anyway, folks, these live streams are supposed to be 30 minutes long. We did have about 15-minute segment beforehand from 9:30 to 9:45 before I accidentally made part 2 public. But anyway, our next live stream will be Tuesday. If you're in here and you're not part of the real estate investment course, congratulations. You got a free preview in terms of not the lecture content that we have in the actual course. It's only like $225, but I will personally take course members' questions and analyze your deals with you on these private live streams. So if you haven't checked out the course yet, click the link in the description. We've got one for real estate agents where we do the private lives on Wednesdays and Fridays, and one for real estate investors. That's Tuesdays and Thursdays every morning, 9:30 a.m. Pacific Standard Time. If you are in the course and you have more questions, make sure to hit me up on our private Discord channel so that I can prepare your questions. And then next time we go live, I'll address your questions in the live stream so you can watch and play it back. So I'm looking forward to all of y'all in Vietnam. Hey, so for your Vietnam question, did I think I answered you on the previous live stream? We went into detail about investing in Vietnam, but very quickly I have to put down. Okay, so you have more questions here, so you probably heard that. I have to put down 10%. The inflation is 3 to 5% annually for a 3-story home like that. I think I can share 3 to 4 room with a 2-bed. Okay, so. Last question here, then I want to know what the rents are. What are the rents for these? Can you rent out these other rooms? This is the important question. So just for those of you who don't know, who weren't part of the initial live stream, we've got a course member here that lives in Vietnam, which we have a lot of international students here. And the interest rates on their properties are somewhere between 7.9 to 9.4%. And that seems very expensive, especially if you're in an area like Europe, where you can get financing of around 1.5%. Or the United States, where you can get financing around 4%. But we made this relative argument back to the 1980s and late 70s, where we too in the United States had a high inflationary environment, and how inflation is actually a good thing. Now, we did do the numbers for your income, and for your income right now, it seemed like it was a little bit of a stretch, unless you could rent these rooms. So here's what I'm going to leave it off because I'm just waiting for your reply here. Oh, here you go. I'm not sure for each room. Rent is about $80 US per room. Yeah, so look, I mean, if you have 4 rooms, you can, if you rented 3 of them and then you lived in one of them, you'd be collecting what, $280 in rent or $320 in rent. Hello, math. Or that's if you rented all 4 of them. See, and you got to live in one of them. Yeah, I don't know. See, the math that we did was if you put 10% down, which is actually what I assumed, I guessed correctly, that if you put 10% down on a fully amortized loan, but with a variable interest rate, it's a negative cash flow, man. I mean, your payments are $600 a month just for the loan. Then you've got property taxes. You might have, certainly you'll have repairs on the property. You might have association dues there. Even though your income's going to go up to about $1,200 USD per month, I don't know that I would want to spend $800 per month on a property that I'm only getting, sure, I'm living in one of the rooms, but even if I rented out every single room, I could only possibly stand to get a max of what, $320 a month? That doesn't make sense to me. I don't like those numbers at all. I mean, it's your rent is half of what your payments are. I mean, if you came to me and said, hey, I want to buy this place, the total payments are $800 and the rent I'm getting is $750 if I rented everything, and it's a $50 negative cash flow, then we could talk a little bit more in detail. And hey, Chris, Andrews, I'm about to end the live stream, but I will, we talk about we have lectures all over about the BRRRR method in detail in the investing course. Remember, if you're in here, this was supposed to be the private investing live stream. But anyway, I already unlisted it. So hopefully that helps you and thank you, Zach, really appreciate that. So hopefully that helps you in Vietnam, because I know they may take a little longer for the signal. Oh, here. Okay, no, you replied regarding the rent. So I don't know. I'm just not excited about that deal. Can you only? Okay, I'll answer a couple more questions here, but then seriously, you gotta promise. Smash that like button. Click the link in the description for that real estate investing course, because again, I messed up. This is not supposed to be private. I'm supposed to film my awesome epic videos that I've got planned for you all over the next few days. We got some really cool ones coming out. Everyone get the investing course. Thank you, so. Okay, last couple questions, and I gotta take off. Oh, thank you, Eric. Okay, last couple questions. Can you only qualify for FHA once, or can you keep buying FHA for investment? So here's the quick answer for you, okay? Oh, you guys are getting all this bonus stuff today. This is turning into like an hour live stream. I honestly, I could talk to you guys for days, but I have to limit myself. Otherwise, I wouldn't be able to film the lectures and get that stuff done. Yes, it is correct. You can only qualify for FHA once, but here's what you do. You qualify for FHA ideally on your first property because it's the easiest to get in with. Then after you qualify for that FHA loan, you're going to, for your next property, hop over to a conventional style of financing, 3% down, 5% down, and sort of rinse and repeat. Now, you always have to evaluate your aggressiveness related to this, but yeah, that's a quick answer for you. Under $28,000 for a triplex in my area. That sounds amazing. On a conventional loan, prompted my bank to make it commercial loan with other restrictions. That's stupid. Why? Yeah, that does not make sense. Why they would make that a commercial loan? I do not want a commercial loan. I would go to a different lender ASAP. I'm sorry, I would drop that lender. There's no reason that a triplex would be considered a commercial unless there's like retail in it. But even then, you could get into some things like this with VA loans or FHA loans. Will I miss the opportunity cost by, oh, I'm bleeding, by value play house versus single family house, which will, okay, so the opportunity. So here's what you evaluate when you have association dues. It's a great question. And Ari, excellent questions here. Yeah, seriously, Shane, this was not supposed to be a teaser. This was a mistake. I had like 10 minutes of my live stream going, and my Zoom mic died, which was really frustrating because this Zoom mic setup is like $1,500. Anyway, whatever. I'm just blabbing now. So the opportunity cost. No. So here's my opinion. Last thing, and then I'm taking off, but this is a really good takeaway, okay? My opinion is that, yes, you have association dues on condos, but your rents are typically substantially higher because the tenants are benefiting from amenities, and you are also benefiting from less repair costs. So usually condos and apartments are, in my opinion, relatively par with single family. You just want to do the math, and the math and the rents will tell you. We'll do some examples in lectures. We've got, we're almost done with the financing section. Once I post this next batch of videos, we're almost done with the financing section, and then I'll show you some real examples that I could share with you. But I would not worry about the appreciation factor either, because in my opinion, properties in an area move up and down together. It doesn't matter if they are condos. Okay, so back to David's question. No retail. I can't do the FHA because I already live in one. That's fine. What lender should I be looking at? Who cares, man? Call any of them. The first thing I would do is I would just go to Yelp and type in loan officer, and then follow the steps in my primary circle and secondary circle advice for how to qualify the person that you're working with. But no, I would dump that like a hot potato. If you had to start over your credit card debt at a terrible credit score, what would you do first? I would pay off my debt. So, okay, folks, I'm a takeoff. This has been an incredible, accidental, free preview of the real estate investing course and the live series that we do. This was not supposed to be public. I had some audio issues, and that made this accidentally public for like 5 minutes, and all of you got the notification. I told myself I would no longer have notifications go out unless they were like really cool, dramatic, awesome videos, but whatever. It happened. So it is what it is. I'm going to go have another cup of coffee now. So thank you for being here. Thank you, folks. If you have any questions about the course, link below. You can always hit me up on Instagram. I will answer your questions on Instagram. Please don't call. Don't email me. Just Instagram. Or if you're in the private Discord channel, you get priority responses because you're a course member. All right, folks, I'm taking off. Thank you. Appreciate it.